were at the April convention. Okay. Did you ever hear, how many guys like history? History buffs? Russian history? Anybody like Russian history? When it was said that when Stalin gave a speech for the parliament, he would watch for people who stopped clapping, and the people who stopped clapping would disappear. So every time I do a talk for a multi-level company, that's what I think of. Because you don't even know what I'm going to say yet. You may not even like me. What are you guys clapping for already? How many guys know what I do? What do you, in your opinion, what do you think it is that I do? Not right or wrong, I just want to know what you think.
As a pharmacist?
Right. I'm a nutritionist, I'm a pharmacist, I'm a cosmetic chemist, I do a lot of things, but my main goal is to help people understand their bodies, to help people understand health. I saw when I was in pharmacy school that we have a real big problem when it comes to how we address health in this country. It never made sense to me in pharmacy school how we could use drugs. Can you guys hear me? This sounds kind of weird. Can you lower it just a little bit? It never made sense to me how we could have this healthcare system that used poisons to make us better. And that's what drugs are. So when you hear statistics like the third leading cause of death is prescription drugs, it makes perfect sense to me. Because I studied for 6 years in pharmacy school how we use poisons to adjust the body. And you notice I said adjust. I didn't say heal. I didn't say cure. I didn't say correct, because drugs don't do any of that. What drugs do is they manipulate various processes of the body that are supposed to be associated with our health. So they'll lower our cholesterol because it's supposed to make our heart better. Or they'll lower our blood sugar because it's supposed to make our diabetes better. Or it'll shut down our heart, it'll slow down our heart because it's supposed to make our blood pressure better. It doesn't, the drugs that we use and the medical strategies that we use don't do anything to heal the body. And this is so obvious, it's like hidden in plain sight. You ever hear that saying, hidden in plain sight? That's the best place to hide something, is where it's in plain sight. All you gotta do is look at the health statistics. All you gotta do is look at the numbers. We got more drugs and more prescriptions served than at any other time in the history of modern medicine. 4 billion prescriptions served. And we're not any better for it. And if you go to the doctor, they'll tell you your autoimmune disease can't be cured. They'll tell you your cancer can't be cured. They'll tell you you're going to be on this prescription drug for the rest of your life. There's this meme. How many of you guys know that word meme? A meme is a mind virus. There's this meme, this belief system that's out in the world that when you have a disease, you're stuck with it. And that's why we think it's a miracle when somebody is completely reversed. How many of you guys saw Buck bound up the stage a couple of years ago at the convention? There's a guy named Buck. Okay, for those of you guys who don't know, Buck was going to have his leg amputated. He was a diabetic. His doctor said there's nothing we can do about it. You're going to have your leg amputated. Buck talked to Dr. Wallach for about 15 minutes, and 4 months later, not only did he have his leg amputated, he comes running up the stage. That was a happy man, let me tell you. Running up the stage at convention. And I saw, if you go to a convention, you see these kinds of things over and over and over again. One time I said to Dr. Wallach, I was talking about the guy I saw who was in a wheelchair 4 months before the convention, started on the Ingevity products, he was out of the wheelchair. Now these are the kinds of things that if you go out and you tell people, they'll think this is some kind of John of God, faith healing kind of thing. But there's this meme, this belief system that this can't be done. So when it happens to a guy like Buck, or when it happens to somebody who loses 65 pounds or 100 pounds or 150 pounds, when it happens to somebody who gets off 12 medications that they've been on for years and were told they were going to have to be on for the rest of their life and they're off of it, when their cancer reverts, and I've seen this with my own eyes, we think it's a miracle, but it's not a miracle because the body is designed to be healthy. Yes. It's meant to be healthy, and your testimony is every time you cut yourself.
Yes.
Every time you cut yourself, that healing system kicks in and you don't have a cut anymore 3 days later, 4 days later. But in order for the healing system to take place inside the body, in order for diseases to reverse, I'm talking about all of them if they're in the realm of chronic, long-term progressive diseases. In order for those diseases to reverse, we have to reverse. What's the definition of insanity? Over and over again, expecting different results, right? So if you want to reverse something that's happening, a process that's occurring in your body, you've got to do something different so that process can revert, can go back. If you do the same thing over and over again, it can't happen. So this gets to what exactly is going on when we're sick. What exactly is going on when our body is not performing as we would like it to perform? That's the crux of the matter. If we're serious about reversing our degenerative diseases or helping our loved ones reverse their degenerative diseases, we have to know how it happens in the first place. Now, do you understand when I say degenerative disease, I'm talking about a specific category of disease called chronic degenerative disease. You guys hear this term, chronic degenerative disease? This is one class of diseases, or one class of illnesses. The other class of illnesses is infections and traumas, which isn't really an illness, but health challenges, we'll say. Infections and traumas are one type of health challenge. Chronic long-term degenerative diseases are another type of challenge, and that's a very, very important distinction to make. Because you see, the modern medical model is geared to helping people with infections and traumas, but it is completely unable to deal with chronic degenerative diseases. And if we do not make that distinction, we're going to think it's normal to go to the doctor when we have one of these because they're so good at healing these. You follow me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we think that because of the miracles that medicine can perform at the level of the infectious and the traumatic health challenges, we think it's natural, and we're encouraged to think it's natural, to go to the doctor when we have one of these challenges, despite the fact that their record here is an F as much as it's an A over here. You follow me? But it doesn't matter, because we can do this ourselves. Now, first of all, you got this distinction, right? Chronic degenerative diseases, cancer, diabetes, arthritis, irritable bowel syndrome, Alzheimer's disease, pretty much you name it. All of our concerns are chronic degenerative disease. 80 to 90% of our healthcare costs are spent on chronic degenerative diseases. The medical model is great over here, but it can't help us over here. But it doesn't matter, because we can do it ourselves. So the question then becomes is, how does this happen? How does this regenerating system that we know is so perfect, every time we cut ourselves, how is it that it somehow doesn't do its business to the extent that we deteriorate and ultimately die? What goes wrong? Well, the good news is, not a lot of things can go wrong. The body is so perfect that it takes a lot of work to screw it up. It takes a lot of work to mess it up. That's why, I mean, we make it to age pretty much 30, 40, 50, even though we are hampered by bad living from the time we're born, even prenatally. The good news is, there's not a lot of stuff that can go wrong. In fact, there's only one thing that can go wrong. There is only one thing you need to know if you want to reverse chronic degenerative disease. There's only one cause to all chronic degenerative disease. You guys want to know what that is?
Yeah.
Well, Alex touched on it. And I love coming to these, I love coming to, not necessarily conventions, but little seminars that happen periodically around the country. We have something called Super Saturday in Denver with Tom Chenal. Some of you guys know Tom Chenal. Sometimes I'll go to see Tom Chenal Super Saturday, and I'll go in the back, and every time I'm listening to Tom, every time I'm listening to Alex, every time I'm listening to Steve, I learn something new. And so Alex today talked about exactly what it is that makes the body go into this degenerative spiral that causes all of our health miseries. We talked about it. Except close, not quite stress. Where is Alex? There he is. Yeah, it was so cool. It's the one thing that screws everything up physically, mentally, emotionally, and even spiritually. It's the one thing we have to know about if we're going to be able to reverse chronic degenerative disease, and that is, well, Alex said something really cool. He talked about excitement and fear, right? What's the difference between excitement and fear? Perception. Perception. The one thing you need to understand to reverse all chronic degenerative disease, the one thing that causes all chronic degenerative disease, that takes this marvelously healing system, this incredible regenerating system, and turns it into a degenerative downward spiral, or induces a degenerative downward spiral, is fear. Is fear. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, clearly, if we have emotions, if we have like you're saying, go on a roller coaster, do a cold call, there's all kinds of ways to get mental and emotional fears. But what exactly is physiologic fear? Well, you see, the body is designed to perceive the world and then interpret the world and turn it into our chemistry.
Wow.
Who said that? Did you get that? Did you feel that? Whoever said that. That's exactly what we do. We perceive the world and we turn it into our chemistry. And the world is perceived and turned into our chemistry via one major system in the body. What is that system called? That perceives the world and turns it into our bodies. Anybody know? Not the digestive system. The digestive system doesn't perceive the world. It's called the nervous system. And the nervous, that's the job of the nervous system. The job of the nervous system is to perceive the world and turn it into us. We do it through our eyes, which are an outpost of the nervous system. We do it through our skin, which is an outpost of the nervous system. We do it through our olfactory system, our nose, our smelling. That's an extension or a satellite of the nervous system. We do it through taste, and we do it through sound. We call those our senses, right? Our senses are outposts to the world that tell the nervous system, basically the brain, the central nervous system, what's happening, and then it gets turned into our bodies. If our bodies are not being made, are not operating like we should, there's something going on in this interface. How our bodies show up is a function of what's happening on the outside being interpreted by the inside. Now, we have two ways of interpreting the world. We have one way of interpreting the world that tells the inside of the body that everything's okay, that everything is all right in the world. And we have another way of interpreting our environment that says danger, danger, danger. This way, this nervous system that perceives safety, that perceives goodness, that perceives peace, that perceives contentment, that perceives joy, that perceives love, that perceives all the good stuff, that's called your parasympathetic nervous system. Anybody hear that term? Parasympathetic nervous system. This part of your nervous system that perceives danger, that sees lions and tigers and bears and rejection and hate and fear, all of the things that make our lives miserable, that's called your sympathetic nervous system. Anybody hear those terms? Sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. And behind every single health challenge, every one of them, there's 12,800 different diseases according to the World Health Organization, but they all have the same thing underneath them. They have an overactive sympathetic nervous system. Wow. All of them. It's the underlying cause of degenerative disease. And if you want to reverse any chronic long-term degenerative disease, any one of them, figure out how to have the sympathetic nervous system stand down. Turn on the parasympathetic nervous system. It works with every single health challenge, and it works quickly. And this is the elephant in the room of the modern medical model, because not only do you not need a doctor to turn down the sympathetic nervous system, not only is the medical model completely irrelevant when it comes to turning down the sympathetic nervous system, not only can we do this ourselves, but even worse, all of the modern medical models, tools, and strategies make the sympathetic nervous system even more active.
Yeah.
The surgeries do, the drugs do, and the radiation does.
Yes.
And those are the three tools in the tool chest of the modern medical model.
Right.
Drugs, surgery, and radiation. And all they do is jack up the sympathetic nervous system, making the matter worse, making your demise and our demise inevitable.
Yes.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter. You know, I'm guilty of ripping on the medical model because I get furious. You know, they're screwing around with my friends, my family, my loved ones. I get angry. But it doesn't matter because we can do this ourselves. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. But first, I want you to really feel that we are in a hypnotic trance as a culture. We believe that we need to go to the doctor to get healthy. It's a mind virus. Viruses are so unbelievably cool. You guys have all heard, we always talk about viruses, but who knows what a virus is? Say again?
Foreign body that invades your
Foreign body, but a bacteria is that too. A virus is special.
It's smaller.
Viruses are definitely smaller. Were you going to say, you want to add something, Steve? No? Okay. I thought you wanted to contribute. Anybody know what a virus is? It's unbelievably cool in an evil sort of way. A virus is not even a living thing. It's just a little piece of information, a little piece of DNA. I'm not even going to get into that because that's a miracle right there. You guys, the miracles that are all around us are so mind-blowing. Even viruses are just a little piece of information. It's called DNA, which you've all heard of, I'm sure. And this little piece of DNA doesn't have a brain, doesn't have legs, doesn't have hands, it's just a little piece of DNA. That's all it is, a little piece of information. But somehow, this little piece of information has the ability to go into one of your cells, enter into your cell, enter into your DNA, insert itself, and then have you make more of it. And then, when it fills up the cell explodes and spews out all these little baby viruses that do the same thing. Wow. That's pretty darn cool, in an evil sort of way. In an evil sort of way, okay? I'm a chemist, so I'm just looking at this objectively. That is pretty cool. How does this happen? How does this happen? But you see, that's a physiologic virus. That's a physical virus. But there's other kinds of viruses. The point of a virus is it doesn't care about you. It cares about spreading itself. It cares about perpetuating itself. There's a virus that will infect the brain of a cat, and it will take, the brain of a mouse, and it will infect the area of the mouse's brain that's afraid of cats. So when the virus infects the brain of the mouse will lose its fear of cats. And it will go out to a cat and go, "Hi there!" And the cat will eat the mouse, and then the virus can only replicate in the belly of a cat, will now be happy. This is a virus that needs to replicate inside the belly of a cat, and it will infect a mouse, not caring about the mouse's life, just caring that it gets into the belly of a cat.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool, right? There's another virus that needs to replicate in the belly of a bird, and it will infect the brain of an ant. And ants typically will not climb to the top of the blade of grass because they know birds will get them. This virus will change that in the ant's brain, and now the ant will go up to the top of the blade of grass, the bird will come and eat the ant, and the virus is all happy, now it can replicate in the bird's belly. It doesn't care about that. It doesn't care about the ant. A virus doesn't care about the vector. It doesn't care about the thing that's directing it. A virus only cares about replicating. Well, we have, as terrible as that is for the mouse, or the rat, and as terrible as it is for the ant, as terrible as it is for ourselves, there's even more insidious viruses that don't care about the vectors. You guys know what I mean when I say a vector? That is a transmitting agent, the thing that the virus is using, whether it's an ant as a vector, or a mouse as a vector, or your own cells as a vector. There are mind viruses. Advertisers love mind viruses. A mind virus is something that affects your brain, and then you go out and start whistling the McDonald's song. Right? Or you go out and you start talking to your friends about the Snickers bar commercial you just saw. That is a viral implant, just like in your computer. A virus in your computer does exactly the same thing. Songs need to be viral so that they can sell millions of copies of them. YouTubes are viral. Now they say going viral. You've heard the term, going viral. That's what it means to go viral. A virus doesn't care about the vector. It only cares about replicating. And it's bad enough when it's physiological. When it's a belief system, that's even worse. And we have a mind virus. We have many mind viruses that are being perpetuated upon us by mind virologists, people who study it. And the idea that we have to go get a cholesterol-lowering drug when all of the evidence says that cholesterol has nothing to do with heart disease. All of the evidence says that you cannot suppress heart disease by taking a statin drug. But the idea that we have to go out and get a statin drug for our heart that has infected so many people that 40 to 50% of adults over the age of 40 are on a statin drug is a classic example of a mind virus. So this notion that you need to go to the doctor if you have an autoimmune disease is a mind virus. And we are so infected, we don't see that there's nothing they can do. But it doesn't matter, because we can do it ourselves. We got to figure out how to turn down the sympathetic nervous system and turn up the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's it. If you do that today, I will guarantee you 100% that whatever your chronic degenerative disease is, 100%, because this is the mechanism, whatever your chronic degenerative disease is, you will feel better within 24 hours or less, or your loved one, or your friends, or your family. And you know what? We're in the business of helping people do just that. That's our business. We're in the business. If you want to know what we do, we don't sell nutrition. We're not selling supplements. We're helping people get out of this fear response from a physiologic perspective, as well as from a mental and emotional perspective, because we do a lot of self-development kinds of things at Longevity. And it's the same idea. That's mental nutrition. That's emotional nutrition. When we, 20 minutes? When we understand how to activate the sympathetic nervous system, or activate the parasympathetic nervous system and deactivate the sympathetic nervous system on all levels, not only will our business thrive, not only will our financial health thrive, our financial well-being thrive, but our physical well-being and the physical well-being of our friends and families and loved ones will thrive as well. So let me tell you how you do this, okay? First of all, I always have to preface, and I only have 20 minutes here, so it's going to be very short. I always have to preface my talks with, if you have a health challenge, health and healing and disease and lack of healing are multidimensional. They start off spiritual, they work down mentally, they go down emotionally, and then they show up physically. And I always have to start off by saying that, because it's very important that we recognize that you can't just do the physical things without doing the mental stuff, the emotional stuff, and the spiritual stuff as well. That's all part of the health or the lack thereof process. However, from the physiologic perspective, the key to activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation nervous system, the rest and digest nervous system, and telling the sympathetic nervous system that you can stand down, your survival is not at stake, involves three major elements. Number one is from a physiologic perspective. And these are the only three things that can really freak the body out, that can really activate the sympathetic nervous system from a physiologic perspective. Starvation, suffocation, and toxification. Starvation, suffocation, and toxification lead to the body's physiologic manifestation of the fear response. The physiologic manifestation of the fear response, the sympathetic nervous response, from a physiologic perspective, from a long-term physiologic perspective, is called inflammation. That's what inflammation is. It's a way the body protects itself from danger. And the three elements that lead to inflammation are starvation, suffocation, and toxification. Once you can figure out how to reverse those three elements, your physiologic response, fear response, will automatically stand down, and the healing system can kick in. The healing system that we know exists by virtue of every time we get a paper cut or a shaving cut. That healing system kicks in when we reverse the inflammatory process which is preceded by starvation, suffocation, and toxification. So first and foremost, let's take suffocation, because that is the ultimate primal fear, is suffocation. So understanding how to leverage oxygen is critical to activating the parasympathetic nervous system. In fact, it will instantly put you into parasympathetic mode, oxygenation. And I'll give you a classic example. How many of you guys are on antihypertensive, high blood pressure pill? Okay? High blood pressure is the iconic representation of the fear response. It is the iconic representation of the sympathetic nervous system. You can assess the fear response, the sympathetic nervous system, the disease-causing nervous system by the blood pressure. This is why you always hear studies about how blood pressure is associated with degenerative diseases. It's not that it's associated with degenerative diseases, it's part of the same picture. So you can prove this to yourself, ma'am. What's your name? Renee, what do you want? Beta blocker or ACE inhibitor, tenormin? Do you know what it's called?
It's
Lisinopril. Okay. That's a drug, by the way, lisinopril, that suppresses stress hormone, a specific kind of stress hormone called aldosterone. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. In any case, tonight, what you want to do, you have a blood pressure cuff? Perfect. Take your blood pressure, see what it is, then sit on the couch and practice slow, deep, rhythmic. Rhythmic is the key. Rhythm activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Out of rhythm activates the stress response. Rhythm, that's why I remember the old hypnotist, they used to go, you are getting sleepy, sleepy. So the rhythm in the breathing is very important. So you do practice slow, deep breathing, where you exhale a little bit more than you inhale. You always want to exhale a little bit more than you inhale. You want to do it in rhythm. Do it 5 minutes, and then take your blood pressure. Guaranteed, 100% guaranteed. Without drugs, without side effects, without waiting in line at the pharmacy and filling out forms, guarantee your blood pressure will drop. Like a stone. You want to ease your way? Take your blood pressure, baseline, see what it's at. Go take a hot bath. No, take a hot bath. Warm bath, not really hot. Then get out and watch what happens to your blood pressure. Drop like a stone. Hot water activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Why do you think we get great ideas in the shower? We get great ideas when we're in hot water. Hot water turns on the parasympathetic healing nervous system. Hot water fights cancer. Immersion in hot water. Immersion in hot water is anti-aging. Sitting in the hot, just in the hot tub or in a hot shower. If we really cared about health in this country, we would have a hot tub in every backyard. The government paying for it.
Yeah.
No Obamacare. Forget it. You don't need Obama. You need a hot tub in the backyard. I mean, it sounds funny, but that's seriously what we're talking about here. This is, if you understand that the sympathetic nervous system, this emergency response is behind all chronic degenerative disease, then you understand activating its alternative, its balancing system, the parasympathetic nervous system is the key to healing. Hot water turns it on almost instantly. You can experience it for yourself. In fact, if you sit in a hot tub too long and you get up out of the hot tub, you're almost a little woozy because your blood vessels have opened up so much. Yes, you dropped your blood pressure so much. Hidden in plain sight, you guys. Hidden in plain sight. Now, I wish we had more time. I don't have time, so I'm going to move on to the next one. The next aspect of the disease state, and that is toxification. Now, there's many toxins. Many drugs are a major toxin, by the way, major. The idea to take drugs to get your body better when you understand the toxic nature of these things flies in the face of rationality. But for the most part, the most important toxin that we put into our body to activate the sympathetic nervous system is not drugs. It's not carbon monoxide from the air, which is bad. It's not outgassings from the carpet, which are certainly bad. It's not preservatives in foods and toxins in foods, which are certainly bad. The most important sympathetic nervous system activator. Do you guys, am I okay saying the sympathetic nervous system? You know what I'm saying? The stress nervous system, the emergency nervous system, they call it the fight or flight nervous system. The fastest way to activate that from a toxic perspective is something we do all the time, and that is sugar. Sorry to say. Which is why low sugar is so effective. Low sugar stands down the sympathetic nervous system. Low carb, they call it. Now, we have a new product out, I know you guys have been talking about it a little bit, called the Keto FX Shake and Keto FX Bar. The Keto FX Shake and Keto FX Bar leverage something called ketogenesis, which is a fancy way of saying making ketones. Now, I was told that you guys in Idaho, how many guys, everybody from Idaho here? I'm told that the ketogenic diet is now starting to make some waves in Boise and in Idaho, is that correct? You're starting to hear about it, right? Well, Doc Wallach's been talking about it for a long time. He never called it the ketogenic diet. I've been talking about it for a long time. I never really called it the ketogenic diet. Basically, the ketogenic diet is a low-carb diet. It turns out That under conditions of the ketogenic diet, where your body makes these chemicals called ketones, you run more efficiently because you don't have this emergency fear system kicking in. Your body can stand down and you can, the parasympathetic relaxation nervous system can override it. This is why the ketogenic diet is important for heart disease. The ketogenic diet is important for cancer. The ketogenic diet fights the inflammation associated with autoimmune diseases. The ketogenic diet is one of the best all-time great weight loss strategies or weight loss tools that you can use. The ketogenic diet is important for seizure disorders. It's important for Alzheimer's disease and dementia. Pretty much every single health challenge you can name benefits by using the ketogenic diet. So many things I want to tell you about the ketogenic diet. I just don't have a lot of time, but there's some really interesting things about it. The way the ketogenic diet came about was scientists who studied seizure disorders in children were very fascinated by the fact, this is in the pre-drug days, not the early 1900s, there were still some drugs, but drugs that hadn't gotten going yet, and scientists were very fascinated that you could treat seizure disorders by fasting. And they were always amazed, how does this happen that you can treat seizure disorders by fasting? Hippocrates, who is the father of medicine, some of you may have heard of Hippocrates, he used to treat people who had seizure disorders very effectively fasting. Plato did it, Jesus did it in the Bible. Throughout history, fasting has been a way to treat seizure disorders, and before anti-seizure drugs came out, kids were getting seizures at the turn of the 20th century, they wanted to know why fasting worked. And so what they did was, they did some research on the blood of these people who had fasted and had their seizures being controlled, and they found that there were these chemicals that were were accumulating in the blood. And these chemicals were called ketones. And they noticed that when you fast, you got more ketones, and when you got more ketones, your brain worked better. It turns out that while sugar is a source of energy, it activates the sympathetic nervous system. Ketones are a source of energy that doesn't activate the sympathetic nervous system. Ketones allow you to derive energy in a clean, efficient fashion. And the cool thing about ketones is they come from fat. Fat, yes, the stuff that's been demonized for the last 60 or 70 years generates ketones. Fats burn cleanly because of the ketones are a much cleaner source of energy that allows the body to be energized without being freaked out. That's why when you get your energy from fats, you don't get this jittery kind of feeling that you get when you get your energy from sugar. If you want to know the difference between the energy in fat and the energy in sugar, get some oil and then get some table sugar and heat your griddle up to like really hot 400, 500 degrees. Put some sugar on there. And the sugar will burn, but it will burn slowly, and it will leave behind this resiny kind of stuff. Yeah. But you burn the oil, and it goes poof, and then it all burns. And then there's very little left, tiny, tiny little residual, because fats burn cleanly. Sugar burns dirty. Sugar's a dirty burn. It's a toxic burn. In fact, the byproducts of sugar burning are what account for the side effects of diabetes, including blindness and amputation. So diabetes is the leading cause of both of those, because the sugar levels get so high in the blood that they start to get sticky. When the body derives energy from sugar chronically, it doesn't get as much energy, and it requires more and more of it. This is why we get used to the sugar that we're eating, and we end up eating more and more of it, and this is where you end up with insulin resistance. You don't have that problem with fats, because fats burn cleanly and they generate ketones. But if you are going to eat correctly, you have to separate out the carbs from the fats, because if they're together, the body will burn the carbs and not the fat. So you have to get the carbs out so the body can burn the fat. And the neat thing about the ketogenic diet is, because it's a high-fat, low-carb diet, in fact, to do it correctly, like the way they did it when they studied seizure disorders, it would be 10% carbs, 90% fat, or actually 90% fat, maybe 6 or 7% carbs, and 3 or 4% protein. Low carb, very, very, very low carbs is what I'm saying. The modified ketogenic diet, which is the kind of diet that we're talking about and that the Keto FX will facilitate, is about 70 or anywhere from 60 to 80% fat. And then maybe around 10 to 20% carbohydrates. The problem with trying to eat this way is it's hard to get your nutrients. And not only that, when you eat ketogenically, at least to start, you lose so much water weight, you lose nutrition through your water, through your urine. How many guys have done the ketogenic diet, by the way? And you notice you urinated a lot the first couple of days? First 3 or 4 days, you lose a lot of nutrients. So the key to doing the ketogenic diet effectively is to make sure you're nutriating while you do it. To make sure you're getting your mighty 90 essential nutrients while you're going high fat. And by the way, the ketogenic diet is awesome for losing weight. In fact, that's how we're positioning the Keto FX bar. But please understand, you're going to help improve the symptoms of dementia, you're going to help improve heart disease, you're going to help improve the markers of diabetes, you're going to improve the signs of autoimmune disease, you could even possibly improve significantly, very possibly significantly, improve the symptoms of cancer. There's a lot of good literature on this, but we're positioning it as a weight loss diet, as a weight loss strategy. If you want to leverage the power of ketogenesis for losing weight, you have to practice simultaneous caloric restriction. That means you can't eat a lot of fat, you have to just eat a large percentage of fat. You see the difference? You don't want to have a lot of it, you just want most of your calories to be coming from fat. So it's not an excuse to go out and binge, you still have to watch for your calories. This is where the Keto FX shake comes in. The Keto FX shake is a high protein shake that's loaded with nutrients. In combination with the Healthy Start Pack, which is how you want to do the Keto FX shake, with the Healthy Start Pack, it will allow you to get all the nutrients you need while you lose the weight. The ketogenic diet also tastes, the Keto FX also tastes great. So the Keto FX, and we also have a Keto FX bar as well as a Keto FX shake. So you got the Keto FX bar and shake with your mighty 90 essential nutrients. The sympathetic nervous system will stand down, you will activate the parasympathetic nervous system, all chronic degenerative diseases will improve. And it will improve because what you've done is you've reversed the mechanism that caused the problem in the first place. The last element is you got starvation, suffocation, toxification. Your main source of suffocation is easy. Practice slow, deep, rhythmic breathing as often as you can. Use hot water, that's another great way to improve oxygenation. Also, exercise is another great way. You don't have to do a lot of exercise. Nobody has to be freaked out about exercise because exercise can be something as simple as getting up and down out of your chair slowly. You just do it 10 times. Or a rebounder. You ever see those little mini rebounders? You can do while you're watching TV. Great way to improve oxygenation of tissues. Toxification involves a lot of things. Drugs are certainly a toxin. Carbon monoxide is a toxin. There's all kinds of toxins in our fabric softeners and in the carpet and things that are coming out of the wall and the paint. But the most important toxin is going to be sugar. Reducing your intake of sugar is a powerful way to reverse chronic degenerative diseases. Use the Keto FX shake liberally. You can use the Keto FX shake as a snack too. You can take a spoon of it and just put it in water before you go to bed. And by the way, if you're getting up in the middle of the night and you can't fall asleep, that's a classic sign of parasympathetic overdrive, or sympathetic overdrive. If you can't fall asleep at night, if you're tired but you can't fall asleep, that's another classic sign of sympathetic overdrive. If you want to know a checklist of all the things that go wrong when your body is in sympathetic fight or flight stress overdrive, think of, if you're a woman anyway, think of hot flashes. Menopausal symptoms. All the symptoms of menopause are like a checklist, a laundry list of an activated stress nervous system. So all of the things that we're talking about here today, from the respiratory techniques to keeping your sugar down to making sure you're well nutrited, will help you go through menopause much more cleanly if you are going through it. And don't let anybody tell you that the hot flashes and the anxiety and the depression are an inevitable part of menopause any more than somebody will tell you that a chronic degenerative disease is an inevitable part of being alive. It is not part of menopause. It's a part of menopause if your body is freaking out from starvation, suffocation, and toxification, but not if your body has the nutrients and the oxygen that it needs in a clean place to do its work. The third element is the nutrition element, and that's where the Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients come in. I know you guys probably all know about the Mighty 90 Essential Nutrients, but let me just tell you a couple of my favorite things about it. How much time do I have, Paul? Okay. BTT. This stuff is your most powerful business builder in all of out of all the longevity products, in my opinion. It's rocket fuel, especially first thing in the morning. The body is designed such that when it is deficient in nutrients, it will suck up those nutrients like a dry sponge sucks up water. This is the great gift of the body, by the way. The sicker we are, the faster we turn it around. The more degenerated we are, the faster we notice results. The more pounds we need to lose, the faster the pounds drop off. How cool is that? That's amazing. Isn't that inspiring if you're dealing with a chronic illness or you know somebody who is? The sicker you are, the faster you can turn it around or begin to turn around. It may take time before it's completely turned around, but the faster you'll notice results. And the more deficient you are in nutrients, the faster your body will absorb them.
Wow.
How cool is that? Because guess what? Aside from the folks in this room here, if you go out and do a survey on folks, they don't even know what nutritional supplementation is. They are guaranteed going to be deficient in nutrients, and when they sip on the BTT, they're going to think that they just drank rocket fuel. Especially first thing in the morning. It is your best and most important business builder. And because it's a liquid, it goes to work right away. And because it's a liquid, it bypasses any digestive health issues that you have. It doesn't require enzymes for its absorption. It doesn't require digestive juices for its absorption. It's high concentration, so the nutrients get pushed in. And because it's a liquid, liquids are always going to be your most efficiently absorbed nutrients dosage form. Capsules and tablets are much less efficiently absorbed than liquids. So you get rapidity of absorption, you get efficiency of absorption, and you get rapid absorption, quick absorption, instant absorption. The second important product is part of the Healthy Start Pack. This doesn't have everything you need, by the way. This doesn't have everything you need, BTT. It's got a lot of stuff, but you need your fats, which is your essential fatty acids. Essential fatty acids are the chemicals that the body uses to make inflammation or non-inflammation. You can think of them as inflammatory chemicals or non-inflammatory chemicals, and if you're deficient in your essential fatty acids, the body's inflammatory and anti-inflammatory ratio or balance will be thrown off. And how many people do you think are deficient in essential fatty acids that aren't supplementing? Everybody. So you can tell by the way you have an EFA deficiency if you have dry skin. How many people have dry skin? Everybody. Do you know the human condition is that skin should never be dry? Never. You can tell that you have dry skin. You can tell you have an essential fatty acid deficiency if you have dry skin. For women, you can tell you have an essential fatty acid deficiency if you have menstrual problems, PMS, heavy periods, cramping. And you can also tell you have an essential fatty acid deficiency if you crave fats. And one of the neat things about the ultimate EFAs is once you start supplementing with them regularly, guess what happens? You don't crave fats anymore. Anybody experience this? By the way, your cravings are a guide. You want to listen to your cravings. If you're craving fat, think essential fatty acids. If you're craving salt, think minerals. If you're craving sugar, think protein. Between protein, minerals, and essential fatty acids, you take care of your three major food cravings right off the bat. And then the last product is the ultimate, the OsteoFX vitamin D and magnesium drink. Again, liquid. It provides extra magnesium, and extra calcium, and extra vitamin D. You guys have been reading about vitamin D. I'm sure everybody's seems like every day there's another article about the importance of vitamin D. Vitamin D, by the way, is made in the gut. One of the ways that we make vitamin D is by gut bacteria. Gut bacteria produce vitamin D for us. The sun, we get vitamin D from the sun's action on the skin. We get vitamin D from fish and fatty foods, and we get vitamin D from the Beyond OsteoFX. Always calcium and vitamin D go together. Between the OsteoFX, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and the essential fatty acids, the ultimate EFAs, you've got your Mighty 90 essential nutrients. Throw in your Keto FX, bar and shake. You will guarantee, if you do this on a regular basis, you can't, like Alex was saying, it doesn't work if you just look at it. If you do it every day, there is no way chronic degenerative diseases will not reverse, all of them. Throw in your deep breathing, make sure you're restricting your sugar intake, use your spiritual, mental, and emotional strategies, whatever those are for you. There's no need for anybody to go to a doctor, number one. There's no, for a chronic degenerative disease. There's no need. I know that sounds scary, that sounds weird, that sounds meme busting, that sounds antiviral. I'm telling you this as a health care professional. There's no need for anybody to resort to a medical strategy for a long-term chronic degenerative disease if they don't want to. If they want to, that's fine, but there's nothing that the medical model can do, as is witnessed by the statistics that are available. You can see them anywhere. Just Google chronic degenerative disease or diabetes or cancer, and you'll see that all the leading causes of death in this country are lifestyle-based. They're how we live our lives, mostly around sympathetic overdrive, mostly around this fear response. Have the fear response stand down, and there's some juicy ways to do it. In addition to nutritional supplementation, in addition to oxygenation, don't underestimate the power of spirituality, forgiveness, love, joie de vivre, joy for life. Even something like petting a dog or petting a cat. You know when people come home from Iraq, what they give the soldiers for PTSD? They give a dog to pet. They do studies on cats, pets in nursing homes. Cats in nursing homes, just petting a cat will lower your blood pressure. Did you ever get a prescription for petting a cat? Probably not. That's the kind of stuff that we have at our disposal, you guys. That's why I do what I do. So we can understand that if we have a chronic degenerative disease, we're not cursed, we're not condemned. All we got to do is figure out how this thing happened. We're not dumb. Let's figure out how this thing happened and then reverse it. It's as simple as that. Thank you guys very much. I will be here to answer questions. Thank you, everybody.
Wow.
Wow, yeah,
That's
yeah.
all I got to say. Who could, maybe we have Ben back and he talked 9 to 5 the whole time. Next
Right,
time.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. You guys off the charts. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.